Imagine living in a place where praying in church could put your life in danger. Sounds shocking, right? For millions of Catholics around the world, this is their everyday reality. In some countries, being Catholic means facing discrimination, violence, or even death, just for believing in your faith. Today, we're diving into the 10 worst countries where Catholics struggle to practice their religion freely. From secret worship to outright persecution, these places show how tough it can be to hold on to your beliefs. Stick with us until the end to understand the full picture and learn how you can make a difference. Let's get started. Number 10. Egypt. This is a country with a rich history. From the pyramids to ancient civilizations, but for Catholics, life here is far from easy. Christians, including Catholics, make up about 10% of Egypt's population, but they often feel like outsiders. Churches get attacked, sometimes burned or bombed, leaving Catholics scared to worship openly. The government doesn't always protect them, and many feel ignored when they report discrimination. For example, getting a job or a good education can be harder for Catholics because of their faith. Families live in fear, knowing that an angry neighbor or extremist group might target them just for being Catholic. Publicly wearing a cross or talking about Jesus can lead to harassment or worse. In some villages, Catholics hide their prayers to avoid trouble. It's a tough reality where faith feels like a secret you have to guard. For anyone thinking of visiting Egypt, it's important to know that being Catholic can make you a target in certain areas. The struggle is real, and it's not just about laws, it's about a society that often rejects Catholics. Number 9. Iraq, a country with an ancient history that once was a crossroads of civilizations, has tragically become one of the most hazardous places for Catholics in the modern world. The Catholic community, here already small and fragile, has been systematically driven to the brink of extinction due to relentless persecution over the past decade. Extremist groups, most notably ISIS, have unleashed a campaign of terror against these communities, targeting them for their faith in some of the most brutal ways imaginable. The violence has not only taken lives, but has also shattered the very heart of Catholic life. In Iraq, historic churches, some dating back centuries, have been reduced to ruins, their sacred walls desecrated and their spiritual heritage obliterated. The destruction extends beyond the physical, striking at the identity and continuity of the Catholic faith in this region. For those who remain, life is an existence marked by fear, fear of violence, fear of abduction, fear of death. The mere act of attending Mass or displaying religious symbols can be a death sentence, forcing many to practice their faith in secrecy. If at all, the situation is further exacerbated by the absence of governmental protection and the breakdown of social order, leaving these communities vulnerable and without recourse. Many Catholics have been forced to flee their ancestral homes, becoming refugees in their own land or seeking asylum in foreign countries. This exodus has drained the region of its Christian heritage, leaving behind a landscape of abandoned homes and empty churches. In today's world, where religious freedom is often considered a basic human right, the plight of Catholics in Iraq is a sobering reminder of the severe challenges faced by religious minorities in some parts of the world. For anyone considering travel, relocation, or even humanitarian efforts, Iraq is a country where the safety and security of Catholics cannot be guaranteed. The risks are profound, and the dangers are real, making it a place that demands both caution and deep concern. Number 8. Morania. Morania stands as a stark example of the severe challenges Catholics face in countries where religious freedom is not recognized. As an Islamic public more enforces strict adherence to Islam with conversion to any other religion, particularly Catholicism, viewed as an act of apostasy. This isn't merely a symbolic stance. Apostasy in Morania is punishable by death, creating an environment where Catholics are forced to live in the shadows. Public expressions of Catholic faith are not just frowned upon, but are outright forbidden. Any attempt to worship openly can lead to dire consequences, including imprisonment or worse. The prohibition extends beyond mere worship. Religious materials that are essential to the Catholic faith, Bibles, rosaries, and other symbols, are banned, making it nearly impossible for Catholics to openly practice their religion. This blanket suppression of Catholicism means that those who adhere to the faith must do so in secret, constantly wary of the ever-present risk of being discovered, the societal pressure is intense, with Catholics often facing discrimination not only from the government but also from their neighbors, who may view their faith with suspicion or hostility. This hostile environment creates a daily struggle for survival for Catholics in Morania. The government's tight control over religious expression stifles any opportunity for Catholics to gather, share their faith, or pass it on to the next generation. The fear of persecution forces many to hide their beliefs, leading to a sense of isolation and a profound lack of community support in a world where religious freedom is increasingly recognized as a fundamental human right. The situation in Morania is a sobering reminder that this freedom is not universal for Catholics considering visiting or living in Morania. The risks cannot be overstated. The dangers go beyond mere inconvenience. They strike at the core of what it means to live a life of faith. The country's rigid enforcement of Islamic law leaves no room for religious diversity, making it one of the most inhospitable places for Catholics in modern society, where we often take our freedoms for granted. The plight of Catholics in Morania serves as a powerful call to action. It urges us to advocate for those who are persecuted for their beliefs and to support efforts to promote religious tolerance worldwide. Number 7, Eritrea is another country where Catholics face harsh restrictions. The government here controls every part of life, including religion. Catholics are under tight surveillance, and their churches are often shut down or taken over by the state. Many Catholic leaders have been arrested, and some have disappeared without a trace. Practicing your faith openly, like going to Mass or teaching your kids about Catholicism, can get you thrown in jail. Catholics in Eritrea live in fear, knowing the government might raid their homes or punish them for praying. The community is small, but their faith is strong, even if they have to practice it in secret. For example, some Catholics meet in hidden locations to avoid detection, but the risk is always there. If you're planning to visit Eritrea, you need to understand that being Catholic can make you a target for harassment or worse. The lack of freedom in Eritrea is a stark reminder that faith can come with a heavy price in some places. Number 6, Libya. Libya stands as one of the most perilous countries for Catholics, primarily due to its deeply rooted political instability and the pervasive influence of extremist groups. The country operates under Sharia law, which explicitly prohibits the public practice of Christianity. This legal framework places Catholics in an incredibly vulnerable position, where they not only face the of persecution, but also the constant fear of violence and discrimination in Libya. Religious freedom is virtually non-existent, forcing Catholic communities to practice their faith in secret. These underground gatherings are not just a matter of discretion, but of survival. The consequences of being discovered can be devastating, ranging from severe legal penalties to brutal violence. For many Catholics in Libya, simply attending a religious service involves immense risk, with ever-present danger of being reported to authorities or targeted by extremists. In modern times, where the concept of religious freedom is often championed, Libya's situation serves as a harsh reminder of the stark differences in freedom across the globe. Catholics considering traveling to or living in such regions must be acutely aware of these risks. It's crucial to understand that in places like Libya, the sea, so practicing one's faith can be life-threatening. This reality emphasizes the need for both international attention and local caution as the struggle for religious freedom continues. In many parts of the world, for Catholics, this means that Libya is not just inhospitable. It's a place where their faith could put their very lives at risk. The gravity of this situation cannot be overstated, and it serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance and informed decision-making when navigating regions where religious persecution is a daily reality. Number 5, the Maldives is a beautiful island nation, but for Catholics, it's one of the hardest places to live. Islam is the only religion allowed, and anything else, like Catholicism, is banned. There are no churches, no Bibles, and no way to worship openly. Catholics have to keep their faith a complete secret, or they could face prison or deportation. Even bringing a rosary into the country is illegal, and customs officers might confiscate it. Small Catholic community lives in isolation, unable to gather or share their beliefs. Imagine not being able to pray with others or celebrate Easter without fear of being caught. The government and society expect everyone to follow Islam, so Catholics are seen as outsiders. For tourists, this means you can't bring any religious items or talk about your faith. The Maldives may look like paradise, but for Catholics, it's a place where faith has to stay hidden to stay safe. Number 4, Sudan. Sudan stands as a particularly harsh environment for Catholics rooted in a long and troubling history of religious persecution that continues to this day in a country where the government strictly enforces Islamic law. The practice of any other faith is not just discouraged, it is often met with severe and violent opposition. Catholics, along with other Christians, are seen as outliers in a predominantly Muslim society, making them frequent targets of discrimination and hostility. The enforcement of Sharia law has led to the systematic destruction of churches, with many places of worship being reduced to rubble. Under the pretext of legal action or security concerns, this destruction is not just a physical loss, but also a psychological blow to the community, as these churches often serve as the heart of Catholic life in the area. Religious leaders who are vital to the spiritual well-being and organization of the Catholic community are often singled out in these crackdowns. Many have been arrested on charges that are vague or entirely fabricated and intended to silence their influence and discourage others from following in their footsteps. The threat extends beyond imprisonment. Some leaders have faced even graver fates, with reports of torture and extrajudicial killings, underscoring the peril that comes with leading a Catholic congregation. In Sudan, for the average Catholic in Sudan, the situation is no less dire. Openly attending Mass or participating in religious gatherings can draw unwanted attention, leading to harassment threats or worse. As a result, many Catholics are forced to practice their faith in secret gathering in small hidden groups to pray and worship away from the prying eyes of authorities. This clandestine practice of religion is a reality that many outside of Sudan may find hard to imagine, yet it is a daily struggle for those trying to maintain their faith in such an oppressive environment. The situation in Sudan is not just a matter of religious intolerance. It is a broader human rights issue that affects every aspect of life for those who dare to defy the religious status quo. For Catholics or anyone considering a visit or a move to Sudan, understanding these risks is crucial. It's important to recognize the profound difficulties of living in a place where expressing one's faith can lead to life-threatening consequences, and 2. Approach any engagement with the country with both caution and awareness of the potentially severe repercussions. Number 3, Iran is a place where Catholics live under strict government control. The country's laws favor Islam, and Catholicism is heavily restricted. There are a few official churches, but they're closely watched, and public worship is limited. Converting from Islam to Catholicism is illegal and can lead to prison or even death. Catholics often meet in private homes to pray, but even that is risky because government spies might be watching. The small Catholic community feels isolated, unable to share their faith openly. For example, wearing a cross or talking about Jesus could get you arrested. The fear of being caught shapes every part of a Catholic's life in Iran. If you're planning to visit, you need to know that practicing your faith openly is dangerous. Iran's strict rules make it clear that Catholics are not welcome, and their faith must stay hidden to avoid trouble, making it one of the worst places for Catholics to be. Number 2, Somalia stands as one of dangerous places in the world for Catholics, where Islam reigns nearly unchallenged and extremist groups like Al-Shabaab enforce their rule through fear and violence, with over 99% of the population following Islam. Catholicism is almost entire lie wiped out, turning the simple act of practicing this faith into a deadly risk. Extremist factions impose harsh interpretations of Sharia law, leaving no room for religious diversity. For Catholics and other Christian minorities, life in Somalia is a constant struggle to avoid persecution. The ever-present threat of harassment, abduction, or even execution looms over them. Al-Shabaab, notorious for its brutal tactics, views any deviation from their strict version of Islam as an affront, targeting anyone who dares to believe differently. For those who convert to Catholicism, the danger intensifies. Leaving Islam is considered apostasy, a crime punishable by death under the militant group's control. Fear runs so deep that many Catholics are forced into the shadows, practicing their faith in absolute secrecy. They must even conceal their beliefs from their neighbors and families, fearing betrayal or discovery. Why at every turn this harsh reality reveals the dire state of religious persecution in Somalia, where freedom of belief is nearly non-existent, in a world where faith should be a source of strength. Somali
Catholics live in constant fear, making their everyday survival a testament to their courage. Number 1. North Korea. North Korea
stands as a stark reminder of the extreme dangers that Catholics and other religious minorities face in some parts of the world. The regime's iron grip on the population extends to all aspects of life, with religion being no exception under this. Oppressive rule in any form of religious practice, particularly Catholicism, is strictly forbidden, forcing believers underground. Catholics must conceal their faith, gathering in secret and living in constant fear of being discovered. Public worship, or even the mere possession of religious texts, can lead to severe punishment, ranging from years of imprisonment in harsh labor camps to torture, and in the most extreme cases, execution. These harsh realities serve as a war warning for our Catholics worldwide to be vigilant about the situations they may face in certain countries in modern times. It's vital for those practicing faith to be aware of these dangerous environments and seek safer places where religious freedom is respected. Supporting international movements that work toward protecting religious liberties and speaking out against persecution can help shine a light on the struggles faced by Catholics in countries like North Korea. We've just walked through the 10 worst countries for Catholics where practicing faith can mean risking your life. It's hard to imagine living in fear just for believing in something, but that's the reality for many Catholics around the world. Stay until the end to see how you can help make a difference. These stories demonstrate the power of faith, even in the darkest of places. If you're a Catholic thinking of traveling to these countries, be careful and know the risks. Religious freedom is something many of us take for granted, but for others it's a daily fight. Want to learn more about the world and its challenges? Subscribe to stay updated with our videos. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we can raise awareness and support those fighting for their faith.